listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily, Dean and Alun Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website.
Morning, Frank.
Morning, Peter.
Morning,
Jim.
everyone. I did my trawl, Frank. You know, I like to look through the texts and emails.
Yeah, it's very good of you.
I know. Well, you know, something to do in it. I like to show my worth somehow.
Oh, you don't need to do that, my friend.
We've had an email last night. Whatever happened to? This is the thing that we do on the show. You know.
Do you want the jingle?
If you want.
Yeah.
Go on. Come on. Let's make the effort.
Stars we mean to go on. I like this. It's got a bit of
nostalgia. Oh, no, you're supposed to
it.
say it then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He pointed at Alan.
Let's try that again. No, so it's whatever happened to, and it's instead of
quite
saying...
long, though. It's
We've
quite a
lost
long
the moment
description.
now.
That's okay. You can make it work.
Okay.
I've got faith in you.
Okay, let's have a
just
go at
hurry
it.
up.
That ladylike manoeuvre women used to do to mount a push bike. It goes something like this.
Yes.
While on left side of bike frame and left foot on left pedal, she pushes off with right leg. Bike is now in motion, so she slips right leg through frame and then sits on saddle.
That's why they don't have a crossbar.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'll tell you what I haven't seen. People used to put the left foot on the pedal if they're on the left side, and then they'd put their back leg out really straight and go along for a few.
I know that one, the dragging foot.
Yeah, but really like a
Almost
pointer.
like,
You know those
almost
dogs
like a
that
yoga
point?
pose.
Yeah.
Can I just stop the show for a second? It's only just
What?
stopped me how remarkable it is. There is a dog called a pointer that points at stuff. A dog. A dog, regardless of whatever press, not, in my opinion, not necessarily the most intelligent of animals.
How dare you.
Forgive me, Emily.
I know, I'll let you
But
off.
to point at where dead stuff has landed, I mean, that's incredible.
Well, what about the boxer?
What about it?
Well, they box.
They box?
Yeah, their paws. That's why they were so called.
Is it?
Yeah.
They box.
It's like when they get both their front paws up, it's like in a boxing motion. Thank
Well,
you.
hush my mouth.
Never knew that.
I never knew that. I thought it's because they got faces like boxers all smashed up and flattened.
So
And
they've got boxers' faces and paws. How strange.
I'll pass on your regards to the Eubanks when I see them.
And also because their tail gives them no privacy at the rear whatsoever. I thought it's because they look a bit like a tissue box.
Right.
I thought they were called boxers.
Well, you've thought about it a lot, but just not in the right way, it turns
We
out.
thought, yeah. Well, I used to have one that used to stand at the side of my bed in the morning, do a headstand, a boxer, because we didn't have egg cups. But anyway, can I also stop the show to say I've seen a thing this morning which has filled me with despair.
Oh,
What is it?
I'll admit I'm a stranger to despair. I'm building this up. But poor Colleen Rooney, hasn't she been through enough just lately?
Oh, this was bad.
He's on the cover of the
I know what
Mirror
you're talking about now.
with a bogey in the right barrel.
We don't know if it's...
Oh, come on. It better be a bogey or she's finished.
It is a bit bat in the cave.
It is bat. It's a bat and it's a fruit
It's a big
bat.
old bat.
Yeah, nuts. They could have took that out, a bit of felt pen in post.
It might be a printing
agree.
error.
Oh,
could be.
come on.
I'm afraid I was a little
Just
bit...
the way it's sitting, I know it's the real thing.
I suspected malice. As you say, it could be taken out in post, but it also could have been added in post. She might not have had
Nobody would dare, in this day and age,
hope
add
not.
a bogey to the front page of a popular tabloid.
I hope it's a real
Their career would be in
a way.
ruins. I was genuinely... I wanted to hog her, sort of metaphorically, obviously.
After she'd wiped.
Can I make it
obviously.
absolutely clear I didn't want to hug her? Gotta be so careful, Jeff.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So it's been a big moment for me this week that the West Bromwich Albion manager was dismissed.
That's right.
You used to call him that bloke, didn't you?
Now we are the ship without the captain.
Rudderless, are you?
Rodgers, yeah.
How are you feeling about it, Frank?
Well, Robert Mugabe is on the market. I think it might be nicer to bring in a gentler regime.
Yeah.
So that would be my vote. But I haven't even seen him in the betting. Can you believe? I suppose it's an age thing.
Yeah.
But Roy Hodgson, I mean, he can't be that much younger than Big Bob.
I think he's a while.
Okay.
Sorry, I was
he
trying to
probably
do
is
some
quite a
mental
bit younger.
arithmetic
Yeah.
there.
How old is Big Bob these days? 92.
I think he might be
I think he's 92.
93 now.
Oof.
Yeah. But I think he's still very, keeps an eye on the Prem. It's not like he's lost touch. And I think he'd have the wife in as assistant, Grace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's known as Saving Grace because she's kept a few teams up, apparently, over the years, brought in at the last minute. My tip, Adrian Charles went on and picked Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane on the radio, so,
Yeah.
I'm just putting in... you know what I'm putting in?
Yep.
My A Penneth.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you put your A Penneth...
Yeah.
Know all about that, yeah.
Yeah. So my A Penneth is officially in.
Oh.
I haven't said that for a few years.
Very relieved to hear it.
It's my kind of pillow talk. I'll tell you what happened to me. Do you remember? Think back over stories from my life. That I
Yes.
recently I bought a Hopalong Cassidy watch. Do you remember that?
I do remember
Yes,
that. Yeah.
I do.
I paid
In a lovely presentation arrangement,
No,
wasn't
it wasn't in
Oh,
that.
no, you didn't get the arrangement.
Someone sent in the point
it's
that you can
embarrassing.
get those. Yeah, but thanks for bringing that up. Anyway, it's broke now. But
Sorry.
anyway,
The watches.
the watches didn't
Oh,
work
that
anymore.
was a
I
shame.
had a little bit of... Anyway, so I bought that because when I was at school, I really wanted one and couldn't afford one. And now I can afford one, so I got one.
Now you can afford loads of them, I should imagine.
Yeah, but I've once bitten.
You're right, yeah.
That's what I say about wristwatches. Anyway, so I did that, and I also bought a satchel.
Which
Oh,
I've seen.
lovely.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Nice.
So there's a theme there. I think of
yeah.
a sort of, it's sort of. I never think back to my school days, but somehow I seem to be subconsciously harking back. And this week it came to fruition when I caught hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Oh,
Yeah,
Goodness
which
me.
is very. Now I know what you're thinking because if you haven't heard of it, I told David Baddiel I'd got hand, foot, and mouth
And what does he
disease.
say?
Well, I think he thought I meant what the cattle get.
oh yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, that's the
I've
most
got
famous.
to be honest, I would have thought that as well.
Yes, I don't think for a second I'm destined for the pyre.
No.
I'm not. No, it's much less. And also, do they even have feet? I suppose they do. They don't have hands.
Yeah.
Hoof and mouth, is that what it's called in that world?
Come on, what's your language?
Any farmers, text in.
No, I think
genuinely
it's foot
do
and
text
mouth.
in.
It's
I
called
like
foot
a
and mouth.
farmer.
But
Yeah.
this is called hand, foot, and mouth, and it's like a kid. It's a kid's disease. It's
Right.
really it's the big three for me now: Hopalong Cassidy watch, the satchel, and hand, foot, and mouth. I say hand, foot, and mouth. I think it could be called hand, foot, and mouth. Open brackets. Private parts and buttocks, close brackets.
Oh,
But I
really?
mean, I don't, I'm just giving you the full itinerary.
Well, don't.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Are you?
You know,
But
in the
it's,
spirit of-
it's a bit like heads and shoulders, knees and toes.
Is it itchy?
It was, I tell you what, my hands felt like I'd plunged them into nettles and then rub the nettles around in the insides and tips of my fingers.
Oh, fine.
I'm sorry if anyone finds this, but there'll be people now with kids out there who've got it.
yeah.
But it was really funny having a kid's disease. Got a bit of a snigger from the doctor.
Oh, don't want that, do you?
No. What next? Croup, I hear you say? What's it going to be next, Frank? People be saying this in the street. Why, Frank? What are you going to have next? Croup? Have I got to live with that now for weeks?
I think so.
If I get that, I'll have to have croup therapy.
Oh, we got there.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Is it a bit early in the proceedings to do another whatever happened to?
No, go on, chuck 'em in.
Okay, great. This is from Henna's from Gravesend, one of our regulars. Hi, Frank and the gang. Whatever happened to describing someone as a bit of a card?
Blimey. I thought that was it. I thought that was all it. That was all over. I was going to say, I was just about to say, no, that's still going.
Yeah, definitely.
That would have been a stop the show moment.
A bit of a stop my heart
For
moment.
different reasons. Bit of a card.
Bit of a card, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. One of my favourite films of all time is called The Card with Alec Guinness. And people say to him on a few occasions, "You're a bit of a card, aren't you, Mr. Machin?" And he says, "Am I?" And I love. Do you remember on New Year's Eve, I told you I went out and I was on my own on New Year's Eve. I went out onto the balcony and whistled the theme tune from The Card.
Oh.
So I find it very uplifting.
I'd forgotten that detail. But I do remember
think back. Think back, son. So, yeah, you don't hear it much now.
Well, the response was always, "I'll deal with you later." I seem to recall.
I forgot that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
That's one of those folklore jokes. Like if somebody sits on a chair in a group and they've slightly got their back to you, you say, "Oh, nice to see you back." Remember that one?
Right. Yeah.
Very popular in its day. Now almost forgotten.
Do you remember people used to say when somebody said, "Do you mind?" in a sort of contemptuous way, they'd go, "No, I babysit."
Well, I don't know that
Do you
one.
mind?
Do you
No, I
know,
babysit.
I've never heard that and I'm going to start
Definitely.
using it. I love it.
Oh.
Can I say that's one of Al's that didn't quite work in his act. He's now
It's not.
he's
It's
now
the thing my mum
suggesting
said all through my childhood.
he's now blaming it on the Volk.
Really not. I don't think it's...
I've never heard that before.
Maybe it's just my mum.
Okay.
I'll ask her.
I like that. Just my mum then.
Yeah.
It's a new take on it.
I got I texted my
Texties.
partner.
Oh, yeah.
What a modern phrase.
I don't know what else to call
Frank's
her.
a
really.
detective.
I can't really say girlfriend at my age.
Oh, I see that partner. I thought you were talking about your detective career.
I like that.
You mean my much sort
Skinner
of
and
more
Mason.
light-hearted younger partner? Who brings a bit of gusto and no, not him. I can't. I have enough of him at work. I can't put up with him in my leisure time.
So you texted Kath.
Yeah, and it was a thing just saying, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to work later than I thought. I'm not having an affair.
That's quite a 70s text.
I'm going to have to work later than I thought, and I'm really sorry, but I'll be blah, blah, blah. And Kath sent a text back and said, "No kiss?" ? And then put a kiss on it.
Oh, dear.
Now that's a masterstroke, isn't it?
Yeah.
I felt I'd gone. That was the first 2 kicks of a penalty shootout, and I was a goal down already. I thought that was it's such a minefield.
How did you respond to that?
I found her up and told her I was sorry about the kiss thing, not to read anything into it, and how I loved her very much.
Even more suspicious. Working late.
Yeah, exactly. And
Love
there's
her
a
very much.
chink of glasses in the background. Yeah.
Turning up with
Come
garage flowers.
Come on, Frank. Come back to the pie. I don't know who that was. It was.
I like your affair with Barbara Windsor.
That's the last time I had an affair. Not with Barbara Windsor, can I point out, but with someone from that era. Oh, God.
Carry on affair.
Barbara Windsor now, of course, is absolutely in my catchment area.
Is she?
Age-wise, yeah,
All right,
totally.
I thought you meant she lived in your postcode.
No, well, also, if I was going to have an affair, I don't think I'd want to get 2 bosses. So it had to be someone fairly local. I know the old saying about your own doorstep, but you know, when your knees start to go, you just have to risk it.
Skinner, Dean, and Cochrane. Together, The Frank Skinner Show.
Absolute Radio.
I think we've had a text vindicating
Al, I was
me.
so happy for you when I saw that text.
Morning, Frank, Alan and Em. I'm with Alan about the, excuse me, do you mind? No, I babysit. We used it all through my school years. Maybe it's a northern thing. From Lisa, a long-time reader of the show.
But what does it mean?
Well, child minding is one thing.
on,
So
Frank.
if you say,
Is
do you
that
mind?
different from babysitting?
Yeah. But it's not really. I mean, it's one of those jokes that doesn't really bear up to that much scrutiny. You're right, as so many do.
Well,
Come on, haters
what
gonna
would
hate.
life be if you can't scrutinise jokes? Okay, well, I've never heard it before, but, there must be loads of things I've never heard before.
Text them in.
Yeah.
8, 12, 15.
What, things I've never heard
if
before?
you know something Frank hasn't heard before.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't as well known as "You're a card, I'll deal with you later."
No, that was one of the classics. But well, no, anyway. I haven't heard anyone say it takes two to tango for a long time, which I know isn't a joke, but used to be a thing that I used to hear people sitting behind me on the bus say.
You hear that
You know
a
what
lot.
they say? Takes two to tango.
Well, it's old elderly ladies giving relationship advice.
Yeah.
Never a good idea.
I suppose with
Oh.
Strictly when they have the group tango, it's finished that phrase off.
Yeah.
So many things that used to be. I've got to
Okay.
I'll be straight with you. I'll be.
Yeah.
I was.
Stop the show.
I was on the verge. Of buying some mistletoe this week in preparation for Christmas, and then I thought, in the current climate,
No.
Well, in the current studio.
I think
no, thank you.
I think it. You know what? I think it's finished.
Mistletoe, is it over?
I think no, it's gone. I mean, just think about it. It's
I think you're right.
Yeah.
career threatening. There'll be no mistletoe in our house over my dead body, Jeffrey. No, I don't. Honestly,
That's why
it's
Kath will be
finished.
holding the mistletoe.
It's finished.
Yeah.
The age of the mistletoe millionaire
Gone.
is long behind us, I think.
Well, I think it's a bit odd having it when people have it above their door. I mean, come on.
God, I used to thread it through my belt buckle. I didn't.
Okay, that's finished.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's finished.
That's not happening anymore.
Don't do that
Honest-
this year.
Honestly, I think it is the end of mistletoe.
Okay.
And
I think it's gone.
I suppose it's a good thing.
Well, it certainly
because-
is with your hand, foot and mouth disease.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of spare mistletoe, though. We need to find
What
a
about-
recipe
I
that
was
it
working-
uses or something.
I was working with
Yeah.
Sandy Toxvig this week, and she came towards me in
Yeah.
hogging mode.
Uh-oh.
And I said, Sandy, I've got a bit of a varoose.
Yeah.
I've got a varoose.
Did she have a
Stand
colourful bomber on? Because she likes a colourful bomber.
back. No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I love her.
but
I'm just
she's,
saying, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, she's. And she said, "You know what? I'll risk it for you, darling," and gave me a lovely
Excellent.
hog. But I did feel a bit guilty. I thought perhaps I should have named the varoose. Might have.
Maybe, yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, her mouth and her feet are much closer than mine. It was spread like wildfire. But I'm hoping that she's had it in the past. And
Well, don't give Dennis Wise a hug when he comes out the jungle.
no,
I'll be all over him.
my doctor told me I had a textbook. She said your symptoms are absolutely textbook. And you know
Oh.
what? I got a little prickle of pride.
Feel good about that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
Swat.
I don't think I've ever had textbook symptoms for anything before in my life. And at this late stage, when I thought that chance was behind me, I get textbook foot and mouth. Not foot and mouth, hand, foot and mouth disease.
Yeah.
See? Never stop reaching for perfection.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So we've had people texting in with little phrases. For example, do you remember from school? This is from 999. Oh, you've got other things to be doing. What are you looking at?
Quieter on a Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah.
The lull after the storm.
Yeah. Now Mers is off the text. What are you looking at? Don't know, the label's fallen off.
Oh, yes.
Remember that one, Frank?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I might use that again.
Really?
I think I've modernised the word
Scribble it
label.
down. Oh.
No, I'm stuck with it.
Name badge?
Don't do name badge.
The name badge has fallen off.
Yeah.
I don't think it works. If you could try it, maybe. Let's workshop it. So what are you looking at, Frank?
What are you looking at?
Don't know, the name badge has fallen off.
No.
I think it would work at a conference.
Right. Although I think there's a zing.
I don't
in
know,
that.
your laminates the wrong
Al,
way around.
Can I
Right,
just
yeah,
say, without wishing to over-direct, Al sounded somewhat reluctant.
Yeah.
Sounded a bit of a grudge response.
That's because he went to drama school. He doesn't
Well,
want
I
to do it unpaid.
No, I was acting out the retention moment where the person was trying to remember their put down.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was acting out.
Yeah.
Were you pointing out the difference between the comedian's comedy reflex and that of the ordinary person?
Yeah. I was trying to
Why don't you
highlight.
just give them a break, though?
You know what you
You'd
were trying
only
to be?
alienate people.
You were
wanna
trying to
make it too
channel the normies.
The normies, the
Yeah, you were trying to channel a normie.
No, but look, can I
I'm
say?
a normie.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you, though? Do you believe that?
Okay, mudblood maybe.
Joe from Chingford has texted, Dear Frank, Emily and Alun, as a teacher of small children, you now have a range of diseases to look forward to. Slap face, a rash which looks like you have been slapped.
Good heavens.
Now, one of my children has had that. It is amazing.
Yeah, tell social services.
And ringworm, I've had that, which is not a word, but it's similar to athlete's foot. Horrible.
Ringworm, measuring the marigold.
You've got all those to look forward to.
Measuring
Right?
the large intestine.
Bob in Sheffield.
Yes, I have done that. Last bonfire night.
Bob in Sheffield. That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Oh, yes,
come
that's
on, that was a good one.
When you said
That
Bob
is-
in Sheffield, I thought that was a headline that Mugabe was on his way to the West Brom interview. It's coming from the north like a mighty army. I imagine his entourage has shrunken quite considerably.
I would think. In fact, they turned on him. Didn't
Yeah.
they? From what I can
Well,
gather.
there'll still be some loyal retainers, I should
Act
think.
your age, not your shoe size.
Oh, yeah.
That's no, yes.
I used to say my shoe size is
Bravo.
36
Oh,
because I
did
wear
you?
French.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
It didn't go well.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's mine. What is mine now? 43 Continental.
Is that your,
That's what they call
Shoe
it, isn't it?
size.
I used to like that. I used to feel very debonair when I said what they say, what size. And I'd say I'm 43 Continental, actually. Maybe I'll try on a negligee. Do you have a gilet I could do?
You don't hear continental much
No, it's
anymore.
gone. Gone.
dunno.
Continental sizes.
I mean, we still do their breakfasts, don't we?
I like the suggestion
Yeah.
also. It sort of suggests that Europe is the only continent, doesn't it?
Yeah, continental.
When you say continental, you don't think like Africa, do you?
Like your African shoe.
You don't think about your African shoes. You
No,
think
you mean.
about a delicate French slip-on. So I don't know if I've asked you this before, but it's been plaguing me as winter comes upon us.
Oh, yeah.
A
Yeah.
lovely day like this, when I look out of the window here at Golden Square in London, a large conurbation in the southeast of England,
Lovely day, Bill
and it's
Withers.
a blue sky, but cold, bitter. It's bitter outside.
Chilly, yeah.
Bitter.
Yeah, okay.
And
It's not as bad as he's making it out, but it is cold.
if
Yeah.
it's
Not bad, Al.
Is it cold enough to snow?
No.
If it snowed today, would we get a snowbow?
Oh, what?
A snowbow?
The rainbow as a direct result of the snow.
Yeah, you see, I don't think I've ever
what
seen
you're
a
talking
snowbow. You know, when you get a rain, you get a rainbow. If it's
Yeah,
rain
I've
and
seen
it's
a
sunny.
rainbow.
Yeah,
So if
I
it
know a
snowed
rainbow.
on a sunny day,
I know a
would you-
subo.
Yeah.
I've
But I don't
never
know
heard-
a snowbow.
I know about Bojo, but I don't know about a snowbow. Is this a thing?
Well, I'm wondering if
Oh, I
it,
see. Oh, I thought it was a thing and you were just missing
I
them.
look, when am I going to bring a thing to the party? I'm bringing a query to the party.
Oh, okay.
Well, why that got to laugh, I can't imagine. But I can imagine, but I'm avoiding it. Another question. I was thinking about, we know when you've been ill, you think about your body a lot and it's
Yeah.
the way it changes as you
Yeah,
get
oh, yeah.
all that. And I was, I put deodorant on my
Oh, great.
armpits.
Yeah,
On my.
Yeah. I did that. I'm not ashamed of that.
that's
Yeah.
fine, yeah. Not judging.
No.
I'm really glad that you do that.
And it's because it's a fold. It's quite a big fold. It's
Yeah.
one of my biggest folds.
What is? Under your arm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a folded area.
Yeah.
yeah.
And because it's folded, and that's then sweat's going to gather there, and
Yeah.
let's get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It occurred to me as I was thinking about the whole structure of me.
Yeah.
Just you.
The backs of my knees is a remarkably similar area. Oh,
Indeed.
it's the other big fold in me.
It's a reason.
Is it the only other big one? Yeah,
No,
I suppose
no,
it
It is the only other big fold,
Yeah.
I would say.
It is. I think you're right. On
Okay.
that scale.
And
Okay,
trust me, now that's more of a pleat.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, should I be...
Putting deodorant on the backs of your knees.
the backs of my knees must stink. That's what I'm thinking.
But you don't. You
No,
don't deodorise the
there's
back of your knees.
No.
Hang on, everybody else does, Frank.
Oh, you are having what I believe is known as a laugh. No, I don't.
We all do.
I treat my
we don't.
body like I treat my fridge. I don't really care what's going on at the back there. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm thinking now, should I be deodorising let me call them my leg pits?
Well, no, you're all right.
Well, there might be people out there who really do it. So,
They might.
well, 8, 12, 15. We shall see what we shall see.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You can text the show on 8 12 15, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website, don't you know?
I love Don't You Know. Very Woodhouseian. We've been talking about phrases much like Don't You Know that you don't hear so often these days. When someone trips on a paving slab, this is from
Did you enjoy your
180.
trip?
Oh.
They've got send me a postcard. Yeah.
Oh,
You could
Yeah.
have sent-
I
You
don't
could
know.
have sent me a postcard.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
And he has got enjoy your trip as well.
Which
Yeah.
of course
Parenthesis.
people don't do so much. People don't say that, and also people don't send postcards so much
And people
anymore. do they?
people don't trip much anymore.
Well, now it's a health and safety nightmare if they
Well,
trip.
they're
I've
probably
had a
levelled
few.
it, haven't
I've
they?
had a few.
Yeah, I know you have. Smell it. I smell it on you. Yeah, that's a good one. Now, to enjoy your trip.
We've also had some informative messages, Frank.
Yeah.
No, Frank, no stinky pits on backs of knees, as they don't have glands like armpits. So you don't really need to deodorise the back of the knees.
So
Yeah.
it's me glands.
It's
That's
your
your
glands,
glands.
the sweat glands.
And also, somebody else has pointed out, I don't think deodorising one's leg pits is entirely necessary, Frank, as they are mostly in the open position, as
Yeah.
opposed to one's armpits, which are mostly
but
closed.
That's obviously an atheist.
They
But
actually,
for us
they
Catholics.
do add, unless you spend a lot of time in the kneeling position, perhaps
Exactly.
Buddhist monks should give this one some thought.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go straight to the east. What about let's look after our own boys
Well,
in the
Frank,
Western religions.
I mean,
it was a joke.
036,
That's it.
Frank.
That's the career gone. Mistletoe. I thought I'd dodged a bullet with not buying the mistletoe, but now I've walked into another car coming in the opposite direction.
036, what about, and all that malarkey, a fine phrase covering a collective of activities of a type?
Yes, malarkey.
Yeah.
I'm afraid
And
all that malarkey is still alive and well in the Cochrane family.
I think that's
Very,
still going. But I
very
think
much
I still
going.
use malarkey.
Okay,
And it's good.
yeah.
On the mistletoe front.
Oh, yeah.
In my mistletoe is dead.
Yes.
Still
Mistletoe's
worried about
over.
it, aren't you? Still worried?
Well, I would encourage people not to buy it this year because
Yeah.
it can
Well,
only
mainly
end
because
in-
it's very naff.
Oh.
Yeah, but I just think it's going to lead to misunderstandings.
Yeah.
What about, how would you feel this Christmas if you just say if you just used all your life savings to invest in the popular board game Twister? That's finished.
Well,
That's finished.
You can't play it.
You can't play Twister now.
You
What
don't
about
think-
when I played Twister with Richard Whiteley?
Well,
Rest
here we
yourself.
go. Here we go now.
Twice nightly
So I'm
Whiteley?
afraid it's too late. It's too late to
You played
pull that
Twister
one out
with-
the back.
Twice nightly Whiteley.
I did. And do you know what? He was super respectful.
Was he?
Yeah.
That terrible moment when you trod on his tie.
Tiny little feet, though.
Really
Useful.
handy for
Useful for
Twister.
Twister.
He
yeah.
was great. Tiny little toes on the red circle.
Really? Is that
Like a
right?
dog in socks.
Oh, I hate a dog in socks.
Lovely man.
No, I miss the on linoleum, the click of a dog nail.
That was Shep Sound,
my
wasn't it?
That's a lovely story though.
Yeah.
Twisted with Richard Whiteley.
It
It
is.
really is.
I think I have played Twister with some celebrities, but I think they were all male.
Oh,
Can I just...
is now the time?
Yeah, they are anyway in the current version of the story.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.
Absolute Radio.
So, Frank, previously on Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, we've given a review of the budget. Do you remember when we did that once?
Did we really?
Yeah, it was our little take on it. We discussed the budget. I mean, it was unconventional at
No, I
best.
don't remember
Was this
that.
BC before Cockerell? Before
this
I
is
joined?
Orcs. Oh,
Well, it's fine.
that's like when that ex-boyfriend of mine said, "What about when we went to see Bulletproof Monk?" I said, "I've never seen that film. I have never seen that film."
No, I've done that with Kath a few times.
Oh, it's
we saw
awful.
that, didn't we, Kath? No.
Yeah, I've got.
I always say this. I say, "Oh no, it must have been another one of your girlfriends."
Yes,
Girlfriends.
Kath says that as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, well talk.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Perhaps it's a phrase, like, enjoy your trip.
Philip Hammond, he did a few little funnies
Oh, did he
in the
ever?
budget speech. I think there were 6 or 7 jokes
Yeah.
in total.
Respect.
Yeah, he did
Stormer.
more of a set
That's
than
what
a
he had.
budget
He had a
speech.
stormer.
Do you think he stormed it? Well, I wanted to ask the comics' opinions of
I
this.
think he did great.
Well,
Do you?
it's all relative, this stuff, and I think by House of Commons standards, he absolutely ripped the place apart.
Yeah,
Okay.
Totally.
Wow.
Because comedy's thin on the ground in the House of Commons, I think it's true to say. It was always said that the best joke that had ever been done in recent times was when Vince Cable said that Gordon Brown went from Joseph Stalin to Mr. Bean.
Right.
And that absolutely brought the house down.
Did it?
Yeah.
And as I said at the time, it's only in the House of Commons would that be seen as a moral decline. But yeah, it's not a classic, is it? But that was...
Well, should we see what people think of these in case they didn't hear
I'll tell
it?
you what was a good one. Do you
Go on.
remember... I remember there was a suggestion that I think George Osborne and David Cameron were falling out. And so Ed Miliband decided that this was a weak link that he could take advantage of. So he went in about, well, obviously you and the Chancellor and all that sort of stuff. And David Cameron said, well, don't get this out of proportion. We don't hate each other. It's not like we're brothers or something. And what was good about it is it was a good retort, but also the camera cuts back, obviously, to Ed Miliband's face. And if you're going to have a put down, that is the visual assistance that you need.
Yeah.
Because he sort of obviously had nothing at all to come back with.
Yeah.
But he had this terrible, like, baby bird looking out of a nest look on his face. And it was like, oh, no. It was defenceless man being...
Oh.
So some of the jokes, let's see what you think. He made a reference to the fact that the Chancellor apparently normally has a drink.
That's right.
That's part of the tradition.
I think they mix white wine with water or something.
There was a
like that.
decanter I noticed, and he said, my predecessor used something a little more exotic. I'll stick to plain water.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that wasn't the pick of the crop.
No, but I think it's fair to compare that. That was his starter, I'm just saying.
It's a weak opener. Yeah,
Then he went in for the big one, which was the cough sweet gag.
Oh.
Which was planned.
It was a prop, actually.
Prop gag.
I can't remember a prop gag in the House of Commons before.
Now, she ruined it a bit for him, Theresa May, because...
I suppose there was the bit of paper for I spoke this morning with the German Chancellor.
That's a prop gag, right?
So that was Neville Chamberlain's prop gag.
She came out of the traps too quickly, Theresa May.
Oh, yeah.
Because he made the joke, and obviously it was a callback to her having a coughing fit, and he made some reference to her, returning the favour with cough sweets, and she produced the cough sweets too early. She was rattling around a bag, and then before he'd finished the punchline, she'd handed the sweets over.
It was reminiscent of... I once saw the popular singer Madonna in
She's quite popular.
in a play in the West End at the Wyndham's Theatre.
David Marmot, Speed the Plough.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I can't remember. But I remember there's a bit when she's... I I'd seen her previously, just a few weeks previously, I think, live doing that which she does best, and she was spectacular. But she was, I thought, not as, she's a bit fish out of water in the theatre world.
Yeah.
And there was a bit where she suddenly started scrambling in her handbag, and then her phone rang. And that's always a terrible moment.
Right.
Oh, she
no.
preempted like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, she preempted like it was tomorrow. And yes, it was a bit like our timing is everything. I didn't think that again. I think there is topical comedy at its worst. It's not it's not comedy. It's just a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything with the coffin thing.
No.
Okay, however, Hammond and May, I think that was a quality gag.
Yeah.
Oh, Hammond. That was his best work.
I mean, he had writers in for that.
He must have.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded another, say, 10 minutes workshopping on it to get it exactly
We
right.
should say, what was the gag again?
Well, I thought the fez is on my desk, which
Okay.
means the producer's saying move on. Well, it means she's saying shut up. But
Right.
I'm trying to keep it all friendly and smooth in here today. So we'll come back. I don't think we should rush the Hammond and May gag.
No.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, Frank, we've been talking about Hammond. Hammond
This is
and May.
if this show's hosted by a pterodactyl.
Oh, all right, yeah.
That's what it'd be like. You wouldn't be able to stand it for a bit. I don't think
would
it'd
be
last more than a
different.
couple of weeks.
It'd be different.
I just want the heating on all the time.
The beak could keep banging against her every time it turned round.
I'll tell you something else. I think it'd confuse the decade stations. You know, absolute 80s. I think, you know, we'd have to go like back.
I know you've got to go back than that.
2,000
BBC
years.
and all
or something.
sorts.
Yeah, it's
Can you
ages,
imagine
innit?
the heating
Ages.
bills? I think they'd like it hot.
Yes.
Or is it cold? I don't know when the.
No, they
I don't know
seem
when
like
they
a
slot.
hot.
I don't know when they slot into the.
Well, my knowledge of them is based on those very primitive films.
Well,
Right.
of course.
Yeah. No, but
I mean-
primitive as in 1968.
Yes.
As in,
Right.
and they were
I
picking up
thought
a
you meant home
man.
footage.
No, but I've got some of that.
Yeah.
And they would pick up a man in their little beaks,
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
they?
I do.
Carry him
well,
through
you say
the air.
little beak.
Which, of course, they do.
Or a lady in a fur bikini.
If you
Yeah.
stand next to one of those beaks, it's like the Frozen section in Sainsbury's. Great long.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
Right.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this show is not, as you claim, hosted
Hello,
by a
pterodactyl.
How do we know what they sounded like?
We don't.
Well, we don't.
We also
guess
we
it.
don't really know what colour they were, do we? I think that was a guess. Somebody said the other day that they might have feathers.
What?
Come on, bring on the feathers.
No, it's dinosaurs. The pterodactyls. I don't know.
That's Frank saying, bring on the feathers.
Spoil everything if pterodactyls had feathers, wouldn't
Might
it?
have.
Yeah. I don't think they were that showbiz.
What about
They might
if their voice was?
That I reckon brontosauruses spoke a bit like that.
Yeah, you might be
All
right.
right, yeah.
Lovely, gentle characters.
So anyway,
Anyway.
Hammond's jokes. Let's,
Yeah, so we made.
Return.
Can we say what the Hammond May joke was?
well, yes, Jeremy Clarkson. Oh, Jeremy Clarkson. Jeremy Clarkson had said that he was nearly killed in an accident in a driverless car.
Yeah.
Twice, I believe, yeah.
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 I mean, I don't know quite what he meant. I mean, was it an actual driverless car or was it just a car with no driver in?
Yeah.
The driver had leapt out.
Oh, I see. I thought this was a
It was-
philosophy problem that you were
Yeah.
giving us.
If a tree falls in the forest.
Yeah. Jeremy was punching him in the face over and over and over again because he hadn't got any ball sweets in a glove compartment.
Yeah.
And the bloke leapt out of a moving. No, anyway, so he said he'd been injured in a driverless car.
I love that his argument was over a steak. It's
At a
also
time
brilliant.
when the government is trying to push through the whole
That's
idea
right.
of the driverless car. So Philip Hammond said that it'd been a bit. It was a pity that he disagreed with them, but he said
Yes.
it wasn't the first time that Jeremy Clarkson had been snubbed by Hammond and May.
Can I just say, I think that's great.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was a big
Mic
old
drop.
boom.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
we
was
should say that Richard Hammond and
James May.
Theresa May are on
his
Top
normal,
Gear, yeah.
his normal assistant.
They're the one that wear floral Paul Smith shirt, QI shirt, and leather thigh-length Jackie too.
And, of course, bootcut jeans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
But, for me,
I know what's going to happen now.
are they snobbed?
I
agree.
Like so many jokes that work on the night.
I agree.
When you
was the
actually
wrong
drill
word.
down into it,
I
it's
don't
not-
think he's ever been snobbed.
So-
really,
Oh, I
by
think
them.
they've
The dynamic-
absolutely latched on and,
Yes.
bought big houses.
He chose
Why
the wrong
didn't he
word.
say
Should have said.
Jezza.
What would you
Well, no, you say what he could have said.
Oh, well, I would have said the Prime Minister and I, we're trying to champion the driverless cars in the interest of, the environment, etc. And then we get this person who's, knows about cars who's being critical, and that, that's a problem. But it's not the first time that Jeremy Clarkson has made life difficult for Hammond and May.
Come on,
right,
that's
yeah.
the one.
Then you see it's neat because he made the
Yes.
move to a less watched channel.
Yes.
He's got
Longer in the
controversy.
setup, but it's more effective in
Well,
the
it's the
payoff. I
same. You
think.
don't need the setup because
Okay,
it's
don't get
like this
touchy.
sort of.
It is, though. I mean, it is longer in
Fine.
the setup, frankly.
Now
It
you've made
isn't
that
longer
joke.
in the setup. What was his setup?
I feel so tense, I want to cry.
Just a bit leaner. His setup was leaner.
We couldn't argue. I'm happy to use his setup. What was it?
Let's have a look. His setup was something.
Well, you're saying it's leaner, you don't know what it is.
I know Jeremy Clarkson doesn't like them.
Oh, Jeremy Clarkson, break the tension. I've got to say, Al, I mean,
It's been good knowing you.
lean, lean this, lean that, but come on, that's a better joke.
It is. I think the payoff is much better.
It works on every level.
But I think there's another down for Philip Hammond on this, isn't there?
Oh yes, we've actually had a text from Ian Angle who has said Jeremy Clarkson has pointed out that David Cameron did the Hammond and May gag 2 years ago.
Oh,
I
my
mean-
word.
I mean,
He's rumbled. He's thought, I'm having that.
the stealing of jokes is never acceptable. If you're taking them from David Cameron, that is
That's
really
a low point in your. That's a look within yourself moment.
Yeah, that's like when you hear of, like, during the miners' strike, there was people buying their furniture and giving them really, really low prices, and taking advantage. The poor stealing from the poor.
Yeah.
It's another example of that. Not often I would have thought that these two are described as the poor, but in the world of comedy, they are, I think it's fair to say, impoverished.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
And I do think, by the way, on the Philip Hammond stealing gate, let's call it stealing gate. I think he has nicked that joke.
Steal
off David
gate.
Cameron. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it is a lot like the comedy circuit because sometimes you see comics and it's all a bit average and then there's one really good one and you think, well, that's a bit too good for this act. And that's exactly the case with this Hammond and May joke because we just went through his others and they were all a bit, they're all right.
Well,
this was the
in
best.
his-
That was
in his-
definitely the
In his defence, I
American football player.
I
Spelled
was.
with an S.
But the thing is with puns, and I am a great fan of the pun, as you know, but I
Indeed.
think puns are the jokes that are most likely to be born in separate places rather than
Right.
copied.
Yeah.
Because once you think Hammond and May, you are liable to come up with that
Yeah.
joke. So I think, I'm not saying it's his joke, it's probably been, and it might have been bandied around and lost a bit in the mist of time as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think one could imagine two separate people coming up with that gag.
Okay.
Okay, it just needed me to step in and get that gag spot on.
Yeah.
Okay. He's an interesting character. I watched
Hammond.
the budget speech and I found I didn't
you?
have the sound up. But I watched.
Slow week.
It was.
Frank was just doing his own jokes
No,
over it.
I
was
felt
on-
sorry for him, Frank, as well, because in one he had to refer to Deputy Speaker, and that ruined the gag as well.
Oh yes,
dear.
Because it should be Mr. Speaker. That's what makes it funny.
Yeah, I suppose
It's
so.
like Deputy Santa Claus. It's all ruined.
Yeah, they said, oh, by the way, it's a deputy speaker. They went, oh, no. Got a pen. Got a pen, Steve.
Got some really
Oh,
solid
it doesn't work.
stuff on
The rhythm's not
speaker.
right on it.
I'd actually quite like him to go into more stand-up. Like, if he's going to do jokes during the budget, why isn't he doing, like, modern observational comedy? Like, whoa, what's with red suitcases, eh? Why have I got a red briefcase? It's not even got wheels. What era are we in, guys?
I should open it up and it should have been empty.
Business?
That's all we bring every year. Or sandwiches or something like that.
Or perhaps he could have a little chat with a magician and just produce a bowling ball out of that
Or just
red suitcase.
Yeah.
That's great when they
Get
do
some
that.
rabbits in there.
Yeah, once you bring a rabbit out in the House of Commons, what do you do with it then during the budget speech?
And
Point.
and then it's going to the bathroom all over people.
You know, it's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
But he looks the rabbit in your imagination.
He's
I mean, on their shoes.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.
he's got his hair, which I stared at. We used to have we had an outside toilet with a slate roof. And it looks like, it reminds me of that.
Right.
I'm
Sure I'd be delighted to hear that.
He stopped with the centre parting.
Yeah.
I remember looking in the mirror. I suppose it would have been in the late 70s, maybe early 80s, and thought the centre parting has got to go. And it took about 4 washes to get. It was like a Roman road. It persisted.
Yeah, it's a bit Simon Cowell. Well, I tell you, Hammond is more Addison Lee Driver, but it's the look. It's a bit Silver Fox in his own way.
Yeah, I think Hammond looks like sort of Paul Weller on a court appearance. So he's flattened things down a bit. But he has let that go. I remember Cliff Richard years ago being interviewed and saying, I said, I came out the sea and I looked at myself and my hair was down and I thought, oh, it looks okay. I might go for a Beatle cut. And it was a lie, obviously. He'd been told by his stylist. But it's a big moment when you change your haircut.
Oh, yeah.
A big moment that Phil is not prepared to take on.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
Alanis Morissette, ironic soft start.
Oh.
That's what it says on my thing.
Ironic soft
it says
start now.
ironic, and then it says soft start to warn you that if it starts quietly, it's all right. Everything's working.
Got it. Yeah,
A little bit of behind the scenes insight there for our radio fan listeners. Soft start.
I'll tell you.
I've had a few soft starts in my time. If you stick with it.
I knew it was going to happen.
Sorry, everyone.
Describing my stand-up career there.
Don't apologise to us, love. 990. Sorry, Al. Last time you could make a same names joke was 1980, when the American election was between Reagan and Carter, who were also the stars of the Sweeney.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
I don't know if that was the last time.
Seems quite strict.
But I can see Al thinking now, trying to think.
Rummaging
Sorry, Al.
through-
I feel like I
rummaging
cut you off,
through.
Al.
When Al's thinking, he looks at the ceiling. It's very
do look
interesting.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he got an autocue. I was looking up there as well.
Yeah, I wish for an auto cue some days. No, it was just, I tell you what, it annoyed me, some of the writing up of Philip Hammond's jokes. In particular, there was an article that said Philip Hammond can't stop cracking dad jokes. And why is the prefix dad before jokes or dancing or body a way of saying that this is a bit rubbish?
Yeah.
Why? Because we don't do that
They get
about
so
mum.
defensive.
Nobody says there's a mum bod.
Where
do they?
are the PC brigade to look after us?
Yeah,
Look after the dads, everyone.
Don't I have a knob?
If you see a dad today, go over to him, give him a hug.
totally. I totally agree.
Give that dad a hug.
So
But, you know-
unfair. Dads do some brilliant jokes.
And
What
there's
about
some
dads
very-
need love too?
There's
Oh
some
no, that
very
could go wrong,
wide-ranging.
Frank.
No, honestly, Emily, there's some very wide-ranging dad bods out there. I've seen them. I mean, Conor McGregor is a dad. Like, he's got a great
Yeah.
body, hasn't he? Like, he's tattooed
Well,
and fit, and
I'm no longer allowed to comment on that.
you're not allowed.
As a
What, in the
female,
modern
no.
world?
No, in the
right,
modern world.
right.
I think it's all right.
What
I think
a
you're,
world.
Am I allowed?
I think you're all right.
Oh,
yeah.
result.
Well, that's good,
Yeah.
isn't it?
You know
I
what?
think it's
Great
a
God.
bit like, you know, the way that we're not using fossil fuel now in the West. And then we went to China and India and said, we're
Yeah.
going to stop using it. And they said, hold on a minute, you've been using it for years and having all the pleasure and enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
You want us to stop now? I think it's the same for women. You can, you know, blokes have been going on about it
Do
for
you know,
years. You can carry on for a
You've
bit.
just nailed it.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, we are.
Go on, I'll cope with it. I don't mind being objectified.
Good for you. Good for you.
Good, well, that's good news.
It's been a while.
Meanwhile,
Been a while.
while we're on the subject of dinosaurs, pterodactyls.
Zing.
Pterodactyl.
Sing.
This is
time.
576. It says first pterodactyls were dinosaurs and they died out 65 million years ago.
Did they really?
Yeah,
True.
approx.
Oh,
Humans
well.
about 200,000 years old.
It is true. Yeah, I mean, I got that wrong when I said that humans have been knocking about for about 2,000 years. So taking quite a biblical approach to it, if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. No, even in
Remembered who I was
the
talking to.
Bible, it's longer ago than that. I mean, you are really, that's a severe edit.
Can I
you've done on the
say,
human race.
I like that we're getting pterodactyl updates throughout the show.
Hashtag late review.
This must be our latest ever review, the pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Very
Actually-
sharp, but they're very good at getting into crevices and stuff with those long, very sharp beaks.
May I bring
Oh,
a
you
late
love the
review to the
beaks.
party?
Go
I
on.
had a thought this
You
week.
had a pterodactyl, I think you were
No,
saying when you
I
was at
didn't have
school.
a pterodactyl. They died out 65 million years ago.
I knew that.
I'm led to believe.
Well, it doesn't rule me out having one.
I had a car problem this week, and
Carp?
no car. I was driving.
Oh, sorry.
I was driving a motorised vehicle,
Okay.
and there was a problem manifest itself, and the power steering on the car went.
Oh,
Late review. Power steering is amazing
yeah.
because when you remove that from a car, oh, what a workout! It was exhausting to just
Surely a
drive
man
around
like
the corner.
yourself, aren't you glad in all the sitting
Yeah.
down you do when you're driving to be doing a good upper body?
Oh,
The workout,
aspect.
yeah.
it was exhausting. All I drove was like 2 streets without power steering. I thought, how did people ever do this?
I thought you would have like no power steering and also like
Yes.
a pedal car, a big pedal car.
I thought he'd
Okay.
be like the Flintstones, Frank, with his little feet
must
on the
be.
floor.
Okay,
That would
dad
keep
bod.
you much fitter than just standard
Yeah.
driving, though.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it like this, I should just cycle everywhere with a heavy backpack on or something.
And do you, when you reverse out, do you put the arm across the passenger seat? Are you one of those?
Well, let's not go into that in the current climate.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner, you may have guessed, on Absolute Radio with Emily, Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text us on 81215. It's all right.
Yeah.
Follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, like the modern people, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website for the nans.
I've had another bit of corroboration.
Sorry to hear that.
Germaline, that's my advice.
Yeah. I had the same as Alan with power steering going. Did 3 days community visits with what feels like the world's strongest man hanging on the back while steering lock on. Even muscles in my neck hurt afterwards from Lisa. I don't know what the community visits bit's about, do you?
Now that's a bit of a worry.
I could have edited it, but I read it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping this car wasn't stolen. I'm a bit worried about the world's strongest man on the back.
Oh, Frank,
You
don't
might
take
have
me
thought
back
there
to
was
my
some
halcyon
mistletoe
days.
knocking about.
I have a small announcement, if I may. I'm partly reading this, so bear with me.
Okay.
You can listen at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening, that's Sunday the 26th, on Absolute Radio and Absolute Radio 90s, to Frank Skinner interview the popular singer-songwriter Noel Gallagher.
Heard of both of them.
Oh, I look
Yeah.
forward to that.
You can watch. What? You
Do you have the cameras on?
You can watch the full interview. Really? I mean,
Frank, you're
I
meant to be
would've
PRing your
sorry,
thing,
I would have shaved.
not questioning it.
You can watch the full interview on Absolute Radio. I mean, obviously my TV rate is considerably higher than my radio.
Oh, you need to speak to your people.
You can watch the full interview on Absolute Radio's YouTube channel from 9 p.m. tomorrow evening, Sunday the 26th. You know Absolute Radio's YouTube channel?
Do
no,
I
I'm
ever.
never off it. And the podcast, there's more.
How can I access the podcast, Frank?
Well, I'll tell you, the podcast will be available on Wednesday the 29th.
I think I'm going to download that pod.
And it's all in commemoration. Commemoration? No, it's because Noel's got a new album out, which, you know what,
Is it a good one?
I like.
Oh, good.
When I
I'm a
first
big Noel fan.
I told him five plays it took me, and then
How did he take
Did
that?
because my view is albums are like people. If you like them straight away, you often go off them a bit. Then I think I
Yes.
like them to grow. They need to grow into you.
Did you tell him this bit as well? I hope so.
I did, but I don't know if he heard me. He's halfway down the corridor.
When you say that, though,
Repeatedly
Frank,
punching a cushion in the corner of the studio.
You know what hangs in the room now, you've said that, is that perhaps you didn't like any of us when you first 5 times you met us.
I can't remember that back that
Charming.
far. It's been a long time.
We've had an example of, well, I'll read it to you. Frankencrew. This is Ian Russell.
Frankencrew, that was a less successful sequel
Coventry.
to the original Frankenstein.
Yeah.
In which a man creates a person from body parts and all he wears is a crew neck sweater.
Remember that?
It's a bit like sort of Top Cat meets Frankenstein.
It was quite a thin premise for a character.
It was, but
sweater-based.
and obviously a bit more grown up. It had less potential because of. I mean, the film has got to be in the 18 category minimum.
Because of the Frankencrew.
Well, yeah. And also,
as you well know, he wears nada underneath that suit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, exactly. But I mean, if he's just wearing a crew neck sweater, then you've got, it's all in the shop window.
Does he wear
And I wouldn't mind, but it's a sort of compilation. The private part.
Can we? Oh my goodness me!
It
I don't like to go Monsters private parts.
He got 7 or 8
Had enough
together,
of those.
and built them into a into one that you could, from a distance, you could still pick it up in moonlight.
Frank,
Yes.
a question. Just quickly to clear up a matter with the monster. Did he have a T-shirt under the suit, or
Well-
just completely naked?
I mean, in the Boris Karloff thing,
Boca.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I always think of him in just the suit. you
Right,
see.
yeah.
With a short.
But I've certainly seen versions of him at in comic books and stuff when he's got a T-shirt underneath. I mean, probably a thermal.
Okay.
I don't
freaks
know.
out there.
I don't know if the Walking Dead feel the cold like we do.
I imagine with the quite rough-hewn stitching, they go, I really feel it in my bones, this cold. But
Well,
they
I'm
mean it. There's a gap
Yeah.
in the flesh.
He's definitely got a ragged trouser hem
Oh yes, yeah. He's
and an exposed green foot.
He shops at the same place as the Incredible Hulk.
Definitely.
Yeah, the ragged, and the pirates, of course. They love a serrated edge on the trousers.
Indeed.
That's what those scissors are for. Those pinching scissors.
That's a good
It's for
shop idea.
just
I'm just going
doing-
to do anything serrated.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could do the Flintstones costume.
Oh, Frank,
Very
that's
good.
made my day, that
Flintstones,
idea.
pirates, Incredible Hulk, Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
Who else?
Who
has
does
got,
it?
what
Who
is the
has
actual
serrated
term?
clothing?
Is it serrated? Is that the correct term
It's
for
not
that triangular?
really.
Crimped.
It's a little bit like
Ragged.
you know on castles you get
Yeah.
that castellation when it's sort of a
Yeah.
square. But it's the triangular version
Yes.
Yeah.
of that.
Okay.
There must be other people in those things. In
Okay,
fact,
I'm
there was
sure
a picture
our
of
readers will have some.
There's a picture of Jodie Whittaker in the papers this week, and when you regenerate, obviously as a doctor, you have to wear the previous doctor's clothes for
Right.
a bit
For a
Yeah.
while.
because you've just. Peter Capaldi's velvet jacket looks a bit like it might have come from that shop. It looks a
Right.
bit overly cut into pointy
Oh,
bits.
is it? Okay.
Oh, that's a shame.
Little tip there, anyone listening?
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Anne McNeil has been in touch via the medium of Twitter.
I like that name, Anne McNeil.
Okay, I'll pass it on. Cinderella would rock a good serrated frock. That's from
Very
Anne in
good.
Aberdeenshire.
Very good call.
This was pre-Extreme Makeover, of course,
Yes.
when she was by the hearth side.
Is it serrated? Is that the...
Well, we don't know the term.
It's all right. I think we know what we mean, don't we? We mean a triangular...
Sarah on the A10 shipwrecked people.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes. Desert
Very
Island
good.
Dick.
Robinson Crusoe, all of that stuff.
Do you remember Desert Island Dick?
I do not.
What a party game that
I would
was.
love you to explain it as
I never
quickly as you
played
can
that one.
before we get thrown off air.
It was a comic strip in which it was just a man on a tiny desert island. I mean, the size of a lift floor.
Right.
Yeah.
And he had one palm tree that he sat underneath, and it was whoever it was very, very inventive looking back.
Okay.
There's a series of every day was a different gag about this Desert
Yeah.
Island Dick on the thing.
I bet it was. Joe from Orpington, Frank.
Orpington's a great comedy place to come from. I imagine Hancock might have gone there in one
Yes.
episode.
No, he says,
Oh, I've got to go to Orpington. Stone me, what a life.
very good impression, I like that.
He's good at the voices.
He's good at the
Oh,
voices.
man of 1,000.
Well, yeah, and conversely, David Baddiel, man of one voice, as I pointed out to him once. He can't do impressions,
How did
David.
he take it?
He admitted it.
I think he does accept
He
that.
accepts that he can't do it, and there's a reason for it. And I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure he'll text me imminently and tell me. Other people who use the same trouser shop as Frankenstein would be Robinson Crusoe,
Yes,
or
yes,
any
very good.
castaway vagrants, and any it's a strange way of referring to them, and any Dickensian child.
Oh,
Dickensian child, not a good call.
Yeah.
How did they? How did they get it? Have they all narrowly escaped being caught in bear traps, which has taken off the lower legging?
Sorry,
Good point.
Aaron Painting in Clacton. Not sure if that's an activity or a surname.
Yeah.
He-Man was a regular in the shop.
oh,
Oh, He-Man.
Didn't He-Man have a sort of suede tabard,
Yes.
mini
No,
tabard?
do you know what? I'm struggling to picture He-Man.
oh.
I'm not.
I feel for your loss.
Hey, make the most of it. You got about 20 years. There's another Hammond joke I'd like to bring up. Which
Okay.
is, there's a point where he said, "Who's the Labour person who's in the jungle?"
Is it Kezia Dugdale or Kezia?
I think the producers have said
Kezia.
it's pronounced Keziah.
Keziah.
Keziah
I think
Dugdale.
it might be a Hebrew name. I'm not sure.
I think
That's
it's-
a good. I like Keziah. I hope it is
I
Keziah.
think it is Keziah.
right.
Keziah Dugdale.
I think it's Kezia, but
Is it?
whatever.
Okay.
I mean, potato.
Pinking
potato.
shears. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. No, I don't think
That's
it's that.
that's what
I think
cuts
it's
that
Kezia.
shape.
Yeah.
Thinking. If I was going to make a little, if I was going to have a doll museum of people who had the serrated edge trousers, so you'd have the Incredible Hulk
Yes.
glass window and the Desert Island Dick.
He's in your window, isn't he?
Then you want some pinking shears certainly
Yeah.
for you doing your
Yeah.
trousers. I might do that. I went to an historical dolls museum on the Isle of
It's
Wight.
a great
once.
business idea.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone from the Isle of Wight who knows the historical dolls museum, I went in and 3 of Henry VIII's wives had fallen over and no one had put them back up again. Now, I don't know if it was to symbolise beheading or whatever it was, but they'd fallen over and no one could be bothered, because I suppose it's a big thing getting the glass front off and
Yeah.
stuff. I thought, come on, people.
What if I snuck in and did it in a jealous rampage?
Well, exactly. Well,
know.
if there's anyone from the Isle of Wight who knows that museum, have they stood the wives back up again?
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, I appreciate that.
Meanwhile,
Little,
Al, what you were saying?
So
Little
he's-
message on pride in the workplace there from Frank Skinner.
Yeah.
Some pride, guys.
I
yeah?
know, but I mean, it's disrespectful.
So we're talking about Keziah Dugdale.
Keziah Dugdale.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sticking with Keziah because I think
Okay.
it's a brilliant name.
I like it.
And he said, the punchline was, "I'm Labour, get me out of here," as a punchline.
Because she's
Okay.
gone into the jungle.
She's in the celebrity
She's
jungle.
only 3 weeks ago. She was a politician, or 3 months or whatever. it
But
is.
what's
Not long.
what's his analogy with that? Is he saying that
Yeah.
people in Labour no longer want to be in Labour, when surely Labour is riding a great wave of popularity?
Yeah.
Yes, because
I
it
think
would
that's
seem
what
to
he's saying.
suggest I'm having a bit of a mare.
I just, I thought, weak
Also, I felt
work.
it needed an in. I'm in Labour. Get me out of here. You know?
Yes.
No, but
It's
that's,
confusing.
Then that
It
is
means
getting
something-
confusing. That
Yeah.
sounds like some sort of dig at the NHS maternity services.
Oh yeah.
So, guys,
hadn't
can
thought
we
of that. The ramifications.
Perhaps use some thinking time today to work out how he could have improved that. I'm
Well,
not going to put you on the spot here.
I think he needed to do a lot of work on that one. I
Yeah.
once...
To be honest, I've got my own material that needs as much work as this, but I will devote some time to this.
You've got a gig tomorrow. for
King of
Absolute Radio.
procrastination. I've got-
Just bring it in. And we'll workshop. I once wrote a situation comedy which opened with me in my kitchen as a domestic setting, in a kitchen with my small son. And we were talking about how my wife, his mother, was getting ideas above her station and started
Yeah.
getting in some fancy vegetables I didn't even understand. I remember that he said to me, "Do you like mange too?" I said, "I didn't even like mange," let alone the sequel. But I said, I can. It's a working class kitchen. It shouldn't have things like this in it. I said only yesterday I had a small voice saying I'm a celeriac, get me out of here.
Yeah.
No, it had been worked, grafted and set up, and 8 people watched it. Whereas a bloke does a big budget.
Yeah.
You don't bring in your sketch pad, bring in the oils.
Right.
Wow.
I want it finished.
That's good.
I want it brought and polished up before he's presenting that. Makes me think he might be slipshod in the other areas of his work. Do we want to think that about the Chancellor? Not me.
Skinner, Dean, and Cochrane. Together, The Frank Skinner Show.
Absolute Radio.
He-Man just appeared on the television. I'm not calling that serrated. I think that's deliberately.
Oh, really?
I think it's the individually panelled skirting.
More like a Roman, a gladiatorial.
I don't think it used to be a garment that's become ragged.
Well, what about Skeletor?
Right. Whoa, I can't even remember what Skeletor.
Well, he was just on the telly, Skeletor.
Oh, he was there as well.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm talking about Skeletor.
No, Skeletor, is He-Man's friend.
Yes,
yeah.
I think they were costumes that began that way. It's got to be costumes that used to be on
Intacto,
serrated.
yeah, okay.
Anyway,
I think we should talk about the man who from this week on will always be known as Ollie Mers. He's had a nightmare of a week, hasn't he?
Poor Ollie Mers.
Ollie Mers, really. That's his real name.
Yeah.
For a start, earlier in the week, he had a bit of a to-do where he got left a note because he wore so much cologne. Somebody's had to move tables. But yesterday, he's also been in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
He's been accused of having sparked this stampede from Oxford Street and caused a terror alert. I mean, obviously, that's not funny, but...
Yeah, I don't think it was just him, was it? I think he thought
he got in trouble.
I think he texted...
thought he was helping by
He tweeted
saying,
a warning.
Yes.
Yeah, he said, this has
tweeted a
happened
warning.
to me.
I think it's got to be good intention,
Yeah, I'm
surely.
sure of it. And it
Mers
said in the
alone.
paper that a lot of people self-evacuated, and I thought, I bet they did.
Yeah, blimey. So let's moving on from terrorism.
From that, yeah.
But he did have this
Nightmare.
incident
Nightmare
earlier this
incident.
week where he was at a restaurant in LA and a note was left for him saying the people concerned, well, I'll tell you what they said. He put this on Instagram. They said, just wanted to let you know, they must be American, just wanted to let you know that we moved our seats because of your cologne. It's overwhelmingly strong. We thought you should know. You might want to rethink how it's used. Enjoy the evening. Smiley face.
Brilliant.
I like how you might want to rethink how it's used.
Yeah.
And smiley face at the
Yeah,
end. It's
yeah.
a passive aggression can be an art form.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
It really can.
Premier League. Premier League.
That's a good
100.
example.
Yes.
That was a sick burn.
That is up there with. I'm not sure if you got my last email.
I had that recently from someone.
Oh, excellent.
Ouch. Anyway, I don't like people who say ouch in that respect, but now I'm one of them.
Can I just say, this is one of the things that working with Emily Dean for several years has taught me is
Passive aggression.
Is how to apply a scent. 2 sprays into the air and walk through it. Am I right?
Walk into the fragrance,
Walk
darling.
into the fragrance rather than spray it on yourself.
Well,
If Ollie's listening,
I do give lessons, scent spraying lessons.
very useful.
Ollie Mers, as does my landline. When I first pick it up, which is the coincidence.
Yeah.
I've interviewed Ollie. I've interviewed Ollie. And I tell you what, he smelled very nice, actually, to be fair. And I said to him, you smell nice, Ollie. And he says, well, look, what it boils down to is he loves a bit of 4D.
Oh, does he like?
Tom Ford.
Can I just
thought you
say,
meant
Frank,
Matt
this
Ford.
is exclusive from Frank
he
Skinner.
loves a bit of Fordy, and he was I'd never heard of Tom Ford
Yeah,
before.
it's Tom Ford, not Matt Ford, just so you know.
No,
Yeah,
no.
The popular comedian.
And he sang the praises of the Tom Ford range.
What tune to?
If I knew one of his songs, I
I
could do
think
a funny
I know
joke
one of
here.
his songs, and it's called Troublemaker.
Oh,
Trouble.
Maker.
Oh, okay.
Little bit of troublemaker.
very
Yeah.
influenced by Frank Spencer in his career, isn't he?
So I think on this occasion he'd over-tommed.
Do you think
Oh,
so?
had he?
I think he'd Trey Thomas, I think the French
Right. Yeah.
say. But it's a fine line generally. I think it's quite a nice note in a way, because I think I imagine that I knew a man who used to clean the lathes at the factory we worked at with trichoethylene.
Oh, yeah.
And he took to having a little bit on his handkerchief to clean his to clear his head. And
That's
it's
a good idea.
highly addictive and very dangerous. But I think that the problem was if you work with it all the time,
Tell me about it.
you get used to it.
It's a bit Moorish.
You get used to it. So I think he's not realising how Tom D is.
He's so Tom.
I mean, our Nora used to have a poodle whose smell was acidic. It used to actually bring tears to my eyes.
Really?
And our Nora didn't actually live with it. She didn't know.
Yeah, we've all done
I remember
it.
I
love.
took Kath to meet our Nora, and she thought they'd had some sort of Chernobyl type experience in the local area. And I think that's happened with Ollie, is that he has just got he's so Tom Ford. that
Yeah,
he can't detect it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think word to the wise.
It's almost like he's immured himself against.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has.
It didn't quite work, that, because it's
all right.
inured. And I said immured.
I think immured is okay.
Hammond,
It's all right to
worse.
change it, though, to fit
Okay.
in. You want a slight change.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, that's good. That's much better than I'm Labour, get me out of here.
Thank
Indeed.
you. Okay.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So we've had a correzione directed at me.
Do you want the jingle?
Yeah. So this correzione, can I just say, is not entirely necessary. But nevertheless, Skeletor is not He-Man's friend. They are mortal enemies. 3 exclamation marks.
Wow.
So I think the idea, we'd seen them on the ad, and I think that is the comic conceit, perhaps, of the ad, that they're dancing together
Yeah.
and they're having a night out, as lads do.
Mortal enemies, they're working together on an advertising campaign.
They've gone a
Like
bit
to
follow
know.
the bear.
I'd like to know who brokered that deal.
But thanks for the correction, because it's important to point out they aren't mates.
No.
They
What
don't
does it
like
mean?
each other.
What
They're
does it
arch
mean,
enemies.
mortal enemies?
I think it means that
good
they might
point.
kill each other, doesn't it?
Oh.
They are both
Mortal.
mortals, aren't they?
Right.
I don't know. I never really
416, over to you.
got into He-Man.
No, Alan Cochrane, me neither.
Okay.
That's,
And I don't like to miss that kind of thing, but no, it was not me. Anyway, back to Ollie Murs.
Ollie Murs,
or,
yeah.
as I call him, Smellator.
do you?
Yeah, I call him that all the time.
But I think, you see, I don't agree with these people.
Mm.
I
people?
love a man, the note leavers,
Oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
the
yeah.
Passag note leavers. I love the smell of cologne on a man.
But that
Do
much?
you?
And-
Too much?
Well, we don't know. You say that much. I wasn't there. But, for example, if I go to the theatre and someone next to me, it could be male, could be female, wearing a lovely scent, that makes my whole evening, and it makes me
Does it
associate
really?
the play
Really?
with that lovely scent. Happened with Angela Lansbury, Blythe Spirit. I always think of a lovely citrusy
Oh, I saw that
fragrance. Now, Morrissey insists that the first 4 rows are sprayed with his cologne, apparently.
Does
Does
he?
he really?
Yeah. Because he likes to smell
He's like
that.
an old tomcat.
He is, yeah.
But I understand that. I relate to that.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay,
that
thank
is
you.
nice. I mean, I've had the opposite to you. I've had this sensation that these people have had, where I've thought this smell is so overpowering, I'm going to have to move.
Right.
They've taken it a step further. They've thought I'm going to have to move and leave some hate mail, which I've never.
Where's the
No,
door,
it
babe?
was quite. I thought it was quite friendly, though. It was a word to the wise, as I say. It was
Oh,
a
I
li-
don't
you know,
know.
sometimes we need people to tell us stuff. That's why people go on Twitter.
Yeah, but they tell us after the fact. They didn't say it to his face, did they?
No, because they wanted to spare his. Well, they didn't want to get too close.
Yeah, exactly.
Lest they should pick up some sort of chest problem. I've got to say,
You don't like a big scent, do you?
generally, I mean, male and female, I would say perfume and the whole thing is probably the thing I understand least about the modern world, and I'm including dabbing.
Yeah.
And if he'd have dabbed instead of marinated, we
Oh,
wouldn't
that's
have
a
had
good
it.
point.
But no, I don't, because I like people to smell of clean people. That's my favourite smell.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I find
Well, you're a
it,
clean person, but not everyone is.
no, but they should wash. I mean, I can't speak for my leg pits.
Oh, that's
No.
very Marie Antoinette.
No, yeah, no, but I know there's those of you out there who can't wash because you're on waste ground. I respect that, but even you can go into a public toilet and have a quick rinse.
Yeah.
But no, it's so expensive as well, the perfume.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I tell you something, it tastes. I don't know if you've ever licked. Have you ever licked the neck of someone wearing
Yes.
perfume? It's
Yeah.
bitter as
Oh, I
bitter,
didn't like you saying yes in that creepy way.
Yeah.
Yes. And
bitter
It
as
was
the
Ollie Murs,
cod.
actually.
No, it might smell lovely. It all tastes so bitter. Oh, Miss Dior, it's like eating a dandelion.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
048. Hi, Frank, Alan, and Emily. I used to work with fragrances, and if after applying you can still smell it on yourselves, after 30 minutes, you've applied too much.
Really? I thought that's
Emily-
the whole point.
Yeah.
Hold your high horses. Emily is right about how to apply it. Also, heat makes the fragrance rise, so it should never be applied higher than chest level. That's from Shirley
Hold
in
it.
Folkestone.
Query.
Okay.
Is the armpit.
If you're right on how to apply it, which is firing it into the air and then walking through it,
Yeah.
then why is it also right not to apply it above chest level? Because surely if you fire it into the air and walk through it, it goes on your hair, on your face,
Well, if
on
you're
your
firing
shoulders.
at like some cray cowboy, yes.
Well, you
But
got to shift pretty fast to fire it at chest level and
Yeah.
catch it before.
perhaps it would settle lower. Anyway, I don't know the technicalities. That's
No,
what I do. It's always worked for me.
It's a faulty combination of advice, in my opinion.
Oh, I mean,
Okay.
I put about 10 squirts on the back of each knee. That's my system. But other people, your mileage may vary.
I thought it used to be a dab behind the ear, which is certainly above chest level.
It is.
Yeah.
Unless you're Quasimodo, who I think can be generally said is keeping a low profile.
Yeah, I don't think he used much scent.
Does he favour a serrated edge?
Oh, I
Possibly.
think he might.
I think he might.
On the,
Just
certainly
on the tunic.
Just on the tunic, yeah.
goes around, doesn't it?
I think
Just think some serration
trousers.
has
I think he wears an elasticated Adidas tracksuit bottom. But yes, I think he might have a
Could be me
serrated
at this
edge. I'm
Yes.
calling it a jerkin. I
Why
don't know
not?
where that came
Why
from.
not?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's an image of him at the rope. It's a tragic figure in many ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there you go. It used to be a.
I don't know why I'm laughing nastily like Madonna at the fate of
Quasimodo.
Quasimodo.
Remember the old joke about Quasimodo being followed down the road by a bunch of school kids and him stopping and turning around and saying, "For the last time, I haven't got your football." Probably can't do it now, actually. I'll set it back. I had Bernard Manning say it in the 70s, and I was just holding it up as a mirror to unkindness.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We were playing a character.
I think we've got through the slalom. and come out the other end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening this morning. And also, I'll close the show just as for old time's sake. 223 texted in who said he's an atheist but still misses the old ending to the show. So I'm going to run that just for them. And so if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Goodbye.
You're listening to the Frank Skinner podcast from Absolute Radio. Want your Frank fix a little sooner? Listen live every Saturday from 8 a.m. on Absolute Radio. Across the UK on digital radio, mobile apps, and in London and the South East on 105.8 FM.
Absolute Radio.